Johnson, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
I want to pick up where Mr. Rouser ended. He does a great job helping to lead the supply chain caucus. And I think number one, we all get it. We understand that going through the Red Sea is an incredibly dangerous proposition these days. I think we all understand that some carriers would rightfully make a decision to reroute. I think we understand that those reroutes could cause price adjustments. Now, Mr. Gold, Mr. Dar, you've both made it clear the full effect of those really haven't been felt yet. We don't know what next month or the month after that holds. Of course, I have talked to some shippers who are a little concerned that these reroutes could create an opportunity for not just reasonable fee and rate adjustments, but perhaps unreasonable fee and rate adjustments, really with a process that doesn't have a tremendous amount of transparency. And so, Mr. Dar, what do you say to shippers who raise those concerns?
Well, I can say, first of all, get to know us better and have the kind of dialogues that we've had facilitated by some associations of ag exporters in particular, and we understand each other better. We can serve their needs better, set up groups to help accommodate that, even when times are good rather than the really challenging times like now. And I think if you've prepared and you've built the relationships in those times, it's much easier to deal with a crisis and you're speaking the same language. I also would encourage those that can to seek the stability of longer-term service agreements rather than just to be reliant upon the spot market, because those that are much more subject to market fluctuations. And in the U.S., for example, 90% roughly of our cargoes in and out are carried under service agreements. And there's a significant advantage as far as stability goes with that. Lastly, I'll make the point about the need to mutually focus on things that can be of benefit. And for example, investments in the ports for densification purposes, which involves taking advantage of some technology that exists today, does not have to be at the expense of any port jobs. And as I said, our model, we try not to do that at all, but yet we can improve and do much better and reach higher efficiency levels similar to what we see in many overseas ports if we make those investments here and do so with the right goals in mind.
So with those associations that do have an active dialogue with you, you're not hearing those kind of concerns about maybe unreasonable rate increases to come?
No, sir, I'm not, because if they are unreasonable, we are in a very competitive marketplace. And even though right now the carriers are having to adapt very quickly and add capacity and add equipment and things into it, ultimately, the competition in the market is going to be a boundary on this. And I think as a case in point, Sea Intelligence, for example, just published their latest analysis over the last couple of business days, and they've shown that on the export side in the U.S. Trans-Pacific market, which is where most of the ag goes, those rates are actually about flat. So again, we're seeing the import side or the head haul carry most of the burden of the extra costs of having to adjust the networks. And in normal times, it's not uncommon to see 85 to 90% of the revenue actually generated on the import side, and the exporters benefit from that. That seems to be, according to the published data, one of the dynamics that's happening now. And if it gets too far out of bounds, the market will correct it. There will be somebody else that will carry the cargo that meets the shipper's needs.
Certainly a competitive market would respond in that way. I mean, and I don't know how you'd ultimately define a market that's not competitive enough. We have seen concentration in the industry in the last couple of decades. You'd know the numbers better than I would, but I think 70% of the cargo held by the largest 5 or 6 partnerships. But it is good to hear that the rates have been flat. Mr. Gold, what else would you say in response to Mr. Dar's comments?
I think certainly those that are under the yearly contract have better ability to negotiate on rate increases and surcharges. There certainly are provisions. But again, small and medium-sized companies that aren't under those yearly contracts that rely on the spot market don't have the same ability and same flexibility. And they certainly are the ones that are being impacted by those increases. And again, looking to the next contract cycle, concerns about what comes next and how those prices are, going to go forwards. Right now, we would love to see more visibility into how some of those numbers are coming about. I think from what I hear from my members, they are working with the carriers and negotiating and figuring out, how much of those surcharges they're going to take on. But they would love to get the exact understanding of, where those numbers are actually coming from to understand what's being, put forwards to them.
So as we look about problem solving and even doing a better job, Mr. Dar, I thought your suggestion about, hey, more engagement would be good. Sounds like additional transparency would be your addendum to that, Mr. Gold, right?
I think so, yes. And we're looking forward to the hearing the Federal Maritime Commission will be holding on February 7th on this specific issue.
Yeah, thank you very much, gentlemen. And with that, I yield back.